You're in luck. Today, we're gonna go over everything you need to know about your first Efoil ride. So let's go. Thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate you. You're in luck. Today, we're really gonna cover everything you need to know about your first time Efoil. Safety, to what board I should choose, to the proper way to get started, keeping it safe, building my way up to foiling, and then obviously becoming and enjoying this wonderful sport of efoiling. So, the first thing I would start with is what equipment is good for me, what is right for me. Everybody's got different weights, sizes, abilities. So, the easiest way I could describe it is the bigger the board, the more stable it's gonna be for you. So if you're a bigger guy, a bigger board's gonna help you. So for instance, LeRoy's, a 6'2" is the easiest board to work on. 5'6", best-selling board, because it's a little bit smaller, it's not the biggest, but it's kind of the size that everybody can do everything on. And then we have a 5'0", which is a little bit smaller, which is a little more performance. The power of these Efoils, anybody can ride any size, there's plenty of power. It's more the stability of the board. So the board comes down to the size. So I would say if you're 200 plus, you're looking at a 5'6", 6'2". For sure you can ride the smaller boards, but I would say for learning, there's no question your first time, you should be on the bigger boards. It's gonna make your life easier. It's gonna be a lot more helpful. The next question would be wings. What size wings? The bigger the wing, so for instance, a 250 lift surf is gonna give you the most lift, most stability, and make your lesson a lot easier, slower movements. So the bigger the wing, the easier it is in the beginning. The smaller the wing, faster it goes, and it also is a little bit twitchy, so it's a little bit trickier when you're first learning. So in my opinion, I'm just gonna give you, if you went and took a lesson, the easiest way to get started is get yourself a big board, whether it's a 6'2" or 5'6", and that would be the perfect way to start with, say, the 250 wing or a 200 wing. That would be what I would recommend your first go to get started, your first lesson, your first experience. The next step is you got your equipment. You're ready to get out. Now you show up at the beach and you're ready to go. Location is super important, one, because you want to be operating with the proper authorities. So, you know, we recommend registering these boards. They are vessels, so we recommend registering your Efoil no matter where you are in the country. For sure, there's probably places you can get away without using it, but I would recommend registering it. It's a powered vessel. Most powered vessels need to be registered, so we recommend registering your vessel. Learning, like what are my best conditions? Choppy conditions, flatter conditions. As you get better, you can ride all conditions. Waves, chop, you name it, you're above it, you're flying. The beginning, try to find yourself super flat, whether it's blocked by land or a building, and it's really flat water is really gonna help you in your first times. I totally recommend your first experience to try to be on really flat conditions. That's gonna make, one, your first 40 minutes the easiest and safest 40 minutes of learning the Efoil versus going out in conditions that are really choppy and windy. It's gonna be a lot harder because the chop is making it's actually making ramps, which makes that foil change the way it pitches, which makes it harder for you to balance. So location and picking the right conditions is very important on your first Efoil ride. So the next thing that is very important with an Efoil is proper safety equipment. So I totally recommend everybody on your first lesson a helmet, an impact vest, you know, full wetsuit, all the way, even if you have booties, because you're kind of you're going from laying down to your knees and standing a lot. And so you may be rubbing your knees or you're rubbing a little bit of skin off your feet. So it's really good to have a full wetsuit or any type of covering on your feet. And a helmet for sure, just added safety, impact vest. If you fall, you know, it's nice if you can swim, totally up to you. I recommend it'd be good to know how to swim. Those are some of the key items I would have for just being safe on your first goes. As you get better, obviously it's up to you, however you want to ride. You can ride with your eyes closed and, you know, whatever. But ideally, start with some safety protection. I would say your most dangerous time on an Efoil will be in your first 40 minutes. It's that first learning curve, that first kind of up and down and touch and goes, that's gonna be your most dangerous part. So if you take your time on that part, the rest of your Efoiling is gonna be the most magical experience for the rest of your life. But that first little 40 minutes, things you start to accomplish it and you start to achieve it fast and you think you know what you're doing and then it bites you. So you just want to just be very cautious in that first bit. We're going to go more in depth later, but I just want to be super copacetic with you and say, hey, look, that first hour, first 40 minutes, really take your time. You're going to get it. Just, it's worth taking your time and doing it right. So the next step is, hopefully before you showed up at the beach, or you did your due diligence, you have your Efoil. You want to make sure, no matter what Efoil you purchased, you want to make sure you learn everything about it. So most of the companies out there, for sure Lift, has all the information for you to properly know how to connect your battery, how to properly disconnect your battery, how to link or sync a remote to your board, how to take the fuselage or take the strut off, the mast off the Efoil. So you just want to know some of these things so you're in the know of the product. You also want to know just the safety things like, remote screens or batteries. You want to keep them out of the sun for sure. You want to decharge your batteries as much as you can just for safety. Fireproof case for your batteries is only just added safety. All these things are good to know and good to do to be, one, have a safe e-foiling experience, and two, to have the greatest experience and keep your family safe and take all precautions to really enjoy the sport. So watch all the videos from all the companies for sure. You can go straight to the Lift website and see absolutely everything, but you want to learn how the remote works. Make sure to go to the Lift app on your phone and sync everything. Make sure always these are up to date. So there's a Lift app you can go to. You can sync your remote, sync your board. You want to do this on a weekly basis to make sure you're always up to date. It's just like a cell phone where you just want to have all the information there so that you're always on the safest version, so that they only make these improvements to help better your session. So it's always worth getting those firmware updates and doing it. So make sure to do that always. If you're watching this right now, literally go to your phone and do your firmware updates. I'm sure you'll be pleasantly surprised. So very good tip for you to remember. So just to show how simple these are and how well made they are, especially these Lift Efoils, really all you have is 2 screws right here and 4 screws right here, and that is it. So this is a propulsion case. These 2 screws you pull off, this wing comes off, so I can use any wing Lift makes on my Efoil, on my surf foil, on my kite foil. Everything is modular with these 2 screws right here. Now there's 2 screws right here because you can change your back wing to have smaller or bigger back wings, more for performance, but most people, just so you know what that does. These 4 bolts, that's all. 4 bolts to that board and it's game on. So to set this up, if you had to put it all together and go for a cruise, it's less than 5 minutes and you're out on the water. So it's a really simple, easy system, and that's all you got to remember. It's 2 different Allen screws and that's it. Game on. What makes, I think, the Lift hands down the best Efoil in the industry is, one, we have a trigger, which is like a gas pedal on a car. So do I want a car that just had cruise control? No, because I want to go fast at times. So this gives you the ability on an Efoil to go blazing as fast as you want and monitor it at a quick instant, faster, slower, which is amazing. Now, when you're first learning, what's super awesome about the Lift remote is, I'm going to go ahead and turn it on here and kind of show you, but it has a governor setting, and what the governor is, or lightning bolt settings, you have 1 through 15. Now, that means it's a certain percentage of the battery that is given to you. So for instance, 50% of the battery is going to be given to you at a lower level, and then 100% is obviously going to be 15. Now, what's amazing about that is I can literally set, by just hitting negative, going down, and set this to exactly the speed for a beginner on whatever size board they may be on, to where they can squeeze that throttle full and hold it, so that when they're up to that perfect level planing speed, they don't have to think about the remote. It's perfectly set for them to just focus on standing up, obviously keeping their weight forward for safety, but they don't have to think about the remote. It's really nice in your first 40 minutes to an hour to have that perfect set, and all I know what I do is, if I'm gonna fall, I'm good. That's it. It simplifies the version of thinking about the remote. So for your first 40 minutes, an hour, it's a really helpful tip, and a lot of people actually like riding like that. As you get better, you're gonna want the gas pedal 100%. And that is a beautiful thing, but it takes time to kind of get used to. So what's amazing is we have all these levels, to set for whatever your ability is, whatever your size is, whatever your board is, to get that board up on the plane, and then you can lock it off. So it's a pretty amazing thing because you can literally set your settings. I've even set down to 1, and I let a kid ride around by himself, never foiling, but he can ride around on the board and have fun because I can give him such little power that he'll never get himself into a scenario. So it's a beautiful thing. It's a very beautiful tool when you're learning. And I highly recommend this. Make sure to, if you don't have it, if you only have 4 on your remote, download the firmware and you're gonna have 15. So very important to upload this. It's a home run for sure. So the hardest part, I would say, is picking the perfect number for each person. But I'll give you a general idea that hopefully will help you. So recently I've been taking some people, they would probably be anywhere from 150 to 200. And that's, you know, a different in pounds, 150 to 200. And I would either set them at 3 or 4. And I was on a 5.6 with a 250 wing. So that 250 wing has a lot of lift. 5.6 is a pretty big board. But in 3 or 4, depending on their size, if they were a little bigger, it'd be maybe 4. But most of the time I could get away with 3. They could squeeze full throttle in the learning, and they were up to the perfect planing. Now, when I say perfect planing, you don't know what that means. What that means is, it's just like a boat. If a boat is plowing like this, it's not planing. You want that board to come up and plane where it's flat and it's moving. Then that means that that foil can lift you at any given second if I just literally shift my weight back. But I'm also at the minimum speed, which is safe, because if I'm going super fast, things happen a lot quicker, and it's really nice in your first lesson. So in my opinion, your first experience, 3 or 4 is really good. Now, if I have a smaller board, say a 5.0 or a 4.4, this is gonna change. You may have to have a little bit more just to get it to plane. So these are those things that you just wanna know and be aware about. But I would say in general, most people could be under 5 or 6 and have plenty of power to have as much fun as you wanna do. Yet saying that, we have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. To go 800,000 miles an hour on these things and tow your friends and tow all your buddies and tow a semi truck and do all these things that it can do. So amazing power in these, but just know, you know, anywhere from 6 and down, 100% plenty enough power. And a lot of us, you know, I get this a lot from people, but they say, Damien, I hit 12 today, I'm rocking on 12. I'm like, that's awesome. I ride on like 7. I've used 15, I can use it all. But in reality, get yourself comfortable. Make that trigger be comfortable for you. And it may be 8, it may be 6, it may be 4, it may be 15. Who knows? The higher you go, 15, for sure the twitchier it's gonna be. The lower you go, that's gonna be a really easy pull for less power. And it's all delivered by battery percentage. So the lower the percentage battery dishing out, it's gonna be the lower the number. Obviously the higher amount of battery you're using, so call it 100% of the battery, is giving you that level 15. So that's kind of how it's done, just for your knowledge. So proper ways to carry your Efoil, quite simple, but I would say the simplest way is just turn it on its side like this. And you can literally just grab the mast with one hand, handle with the other hand, and you lift up, and I would walk directly into the water like this. In my opinion, the easiest way to learn this sport safely in your first lesson, and hopefully this really helps you, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna go through what it's like on the board, and hopefully you can do this on the land, and I recommend to do this on the land multiple times over and over and over. Spend some time so you know the process on land before you go into the water with your Efoil. So what I'd recommend is get a blanket or get a board or anything you wanna use. Right now I'll use this board right here. And some very important tips are this. When the Efoil is sitting there, there's wings and motors underneath it. So when you're in the water and you're climbing up, just always kind of come from the back. Try not to be kicking around it, or else you'll kick the wings or you'll kick something, and those are sharp and they may cut you. So just be aware of your Efoil below in the water when you're swimming up to it. I always try to climb up the back of it. So you're just gonna climb up. You'll have your remote in your hand. You can obviously have it off if you would like, so that you don't bump that trigger. A lot of people, when they climb on, they have this in their hand, the power's on, and they hit the trigger and it wants to go. So just little things like that just be aware of. But I would climb on your board, and I'm righty, so I'm gonna keep this in my right hand, but we also With this strap, you can move it to the other side, so it could be lefty. It works for both righty or lefty. But most important thing is you're gonna get on your Efoil, you're gonna climb onto it, you're gonna be laying down just like this. I have my remote in my hand, my arm right here. And the most important thing is to just motor around. Just get used to your throttle, your setting. Maybe you're in the beginning, your first use of it. So go to 3 or 4 and just get the feel of trying to get it up to plane. That's all you're trying to do is ride this. You're not trying to fly, you're just trying to ride this. Now, a thing that you can work on the beach that'll really help your in the water ability is you start laying down. Now, the most important thing with an Efoil is keeping your weight forward. It's an airplane, so if I tilt and put all the weight in the back of the airplane, it's gonna wanna fly. So if my weight is forward, that airplane or that foil is gonna stay down. So I wanna keep my weight forward when I do anything to be safe. So if I'm gonna go to my knees, which I've ridden around laying down, I feel pretty comfortable with it, I'm gonna go to my knees as the next step. Now, if I literally just took my weight and I went back to my knees, this board would launch up vertical. So you can't do that. So the trick is to keep your weight over your arms, and you can literally kind of pull your body forward, pull your knees up, but right now my weight is sitting a little bit more over the front of the board. Now, obviously if the nose is going underwater, you're a little too far forward. But in general, to be forward on the board is really gonna help you from it flying. So I always try to keep that one hand or weight forward, and then what I do is I test it out. So I take my knees and I bring them a little bit forward, and I'm just riding right now. I'm a beginner, so it's my first go. So I'm actually full throttle at perfect planing speed. I feel really comfortable. And now if I start to come up and that board starts to lift up, I need to go forward. That means I'm too far back. So that means I'm just gonna move my knees a little bit more forward, and then I should be able to kind of come up, and I should be able to ride on my knees like this and be super comfortable learning, just tilting to the side as that board just kind of steers right or left. But the main goal is to understand this lift. I don't want it to fly. I literally want to ride this board flat on the water and learn the concept. So once I feel pretty comfortable riding on my knees and I feel like I'm ready to stand up on this. Now remember, all we're talking about here, I'm not foiling. I'm trying to keep that nose down. This is not foiling. You will end up foiling, but this is how to safely learn it. So I'm ready to go to my feet. So this is the hardest part for people, but you want to bring your front foot up. And the trick is, if I put all my weight back, when I do this, that board is launching up. So the trick is to always, from your knees, keep that weight forward. And then the trick is to turn your front foot here. And the biggest problem that everybody does is they go, bink, and they fall over. They stand straight up and just launch up. Take your time. Super slow, relax. You're just gonna slowly come up. I can keep all my weight over the front to keep the nose down. I can actually literally bring my back foot a little more forward, which brings that weight forward on the front of the board, which keeps that board from wanting to jump up. So I can actually slowly come up, and the best thing I can say is act like you're gonna wrestle somebody. I'm not gonna stand like this and wrestle somebody. He's gonna freaking crush me. So get low like I'm gonna wrestle somebody. Weight is forward. Your safety is always on that front foot, always forward. That keeps that nose down. And then you're gonna turn your foot, so more like surfing stance, and you can offset your feet just a hair. So as you get better, you may go in the middle, but in the beginning, it's not a bad thing to offset your feet so you have a little bit more side to side balance. Now, still have full throttle, I'm not falling. If something goes wrong, I fall, I let go. And test this out so you know how this works before you actually fall. So ride on your stomach and let go and test it. Now I'm standing. I'm just riding the board around. I'm just learning this. That's all I'm trying to do is learn riding around. So I feel pretty comfortable here. Now, the trick now is you're on a foil. Every movement is super minute. So when I'm ready to do some touch and goes, I'm not gonna just go try to fly. For sure, I promise you're gonna crash, so take your time. The trick is, once you're standing up, your weight is forward, that nose is down, but the board is planing, you're ready to start to try some touch and goes. So what I recommend is take your back foot, and you're gonna, instead of doing this, a huge step like this huge step like this would be like a triple back foot. Definitely don't wanna do that. So what we wanna do is go from here we actually want to just shimmy. What I mean by shimmy is just slowly pivot your foot, and you can walk it from heel to palm, kind of forward and back. And what this does is it's little movements, and I can slowly work it a little back. Your foot's going to be a little bit around where that little hatch is in the back. And what I'm going to do is, all I'm going to do is I'm going to slowly take my hips. I'm just going to shift them back. I'm not going to stand up. I'm not going to sit on that back foot. I'm going to slowly take my hips and slowly go back. And when I say slowly, super slow. And what's going to happen is this board is sticking to the water. It's going to unstick, lift up. The second it lifts up, I want you to take your hips and shift forward. Because what we're trying to do is unstick the board, lift it, and then put it back down. It's called a touch and go. And then as you get better, you're going to control these longer and longer and longer. And I highly recommend always go in a straight line. Don't try to turn. The other thing is, once you start getting longer and longer touch and goes, where you start balancing and you go further and further, don't get greedy. When it touches down, go forward, put your weight forward, resettle the board, get it nice and level again, and then slowly bring it up. A lot of people get cocky and they get confident and they're flying and touching down, and it touches and they try to bring it back up. Well, now you may be off to the side. That's when all the bad things that can happen, is when you fall from side to side. So it's very important to respect it. In your first hour, 100% respect the sport. You'll have a great experience if you respect it. Spend some time on land, really learn the standing up. How do I stand up? What is my easiest way to go to standing? Because everybody may have a different way, and the most important thing is to keep that weight forward and just act slow, move slow, keep your weight forward. And then when I'm ready, I can get that foot ready and I can bring it up and I can use my hands to put that nose back down. There's a lot you can do, but very little movements with your hip. Touch and goes. Remember, your foil is always foiling even if you're not out of the water. What I mean by that is, if that board's on the water and I just go like this, that thing will launch out of the water. It's already foiling, even if the board's not flying. So remember that. That's what makes these things so amazing. And then the other thing I would say is try to foil less than a foot in your beginning. You know, when you do your touch and goes, don't try to go 3 feet up. I want you to stay within a foot. Keeps it safe, keeps you in control. It's a very good thing. You don't need to be 3 feet up. If right away when I'm starting to ride and I can't control it, you 100% have to spend more time on the water. Don't even try to foil. Work on your weight forward. If your board's going like this, you know what I'm talking about. Work on just riding that board forward. Very important, will help you a ton. All your movements have to be very minute, very little. Remember, when I fall, let go of everything. That's about it. When I climb back on, keep away from all the things around it so you don't kick something or cut yourself. Really take your time, spend the time on the beach here to go through the standing up process. Do it 50 times. You're gonna do it in the water and that's not gonna be as stable as land. So learn it on the land, then take it to the water. It's really gonna help your first experience. It's gonna make your first experience a whole lot better because you've already figured out. And let me just I'll just show you this from a side angle, but if I'm laying down and I'm gonna go to get up and I just go like this, that board is gonna go vertical. So very important to know your weight. We wanna keep that weight over the front so that no matter what I do, this board nose stays down. That is your safety. So it's very important to know this before you hit the water. Once I've got comfortable just riding the board around on the water, and maybe I'm attempting to do some touch and goes, it's still very important that, okay, I gotta make a turn. How do I make a turn? So when you were just riding the board on the water, never foiling, it's good for you to just put a little heel pressure and you can literally steer that board. Now remember, as you make a turn, that foil automatically wants to lift. So put your weight more forward and that board will slowly turn around without ever lifting up. Very important that even if I'm doing touch and goes and I need to make a turn, I put all my weight forward again. I may even bring my back foot forward, which makes all my weight come more forward on the board, which keeps it from foiling, makes it easier for me to turn without having an issue. So then I make my turn, whether it's toe side or heel side, that's just a shift of your weight. It'll turn that board and start to steer. Once I get back to my straight line, that's when I'm gonna start again, and I would shimmy my foot back and I would slowly shift my weight. It starts to lift up. The second that board releases all that drag, I counterbalance my weight forward, and I'm trying to take that board, I'm trying to lift it up and then counter it flat and just keep it level just above the water. I don't want to be flying like this, that's stalling. I want to be flying nice and flat, but to get it up, it has to rise, level it off, and then just try to keep it nice and level. That's super important if you can pull that off. Other than that, I would say, look, take it slow, take your time. It may take you 2 days, it doesn't matter. You're gonna learn this. It's gonna be the coolest thing you've ever done, but take your time, because the beginning is when the most issues can happen. If you take your time, you do it right, it's gonna be the greatest sport you've ever done, hands down. I just wanna hit 3 important tips. No matter who you are efoiling, it's very good information for you. 1, your safety is forward, period. Get forward on that board, it's gonna stop it from foiling, and it's gonna help you be safe. So remember, forward is safety. Forward on that board keeps it from foiling. 2, little movements. When somebody says, tilt your weight back or forward or side to side, this is literally a unicycle on the water. So I'm talking minute movements do a lot. So very little movements with your body shifting your weight around. That would be my number 2 tip. Number 3 would be, go have fun and do this. It's the coolest thing you'll ever do in your entire life. And it's great for the whole family. And I promise you, all you women out there are like, oh, my husband's crazy, he got this thing, whatever. And then they all fall in love with it. All the daughters, all the wives, everybody, to where the poor husband has to go, I gotta get another. That's what happens. So I'm just telling you what happens. So another really important thing I think that everybody should know is, especially with the lift, it's amazing, but you know, everybody asks like, oh, are you gonna run out of battery? And when do I know? Am I gonna get stuck in the lake or out in the ocean? Here's a really important tip that you should know. Your remote always says the percentage right. You just gotta look at it. The bummer is you have so much fun. A lot of people are like, oh man, I ran out, because they've never looked at this. Pretty hard, it's right here, like you should be able to figure that one out. You just look. Even though I know it's really fun, but just look. But what's really rad about lift is as you get lower here, once you hit about 10% and you start going lower, it's actually gonna go into low mode, low battery mode. Low battery mode takes you to a low, you'd squeeze full throttle, and it's only gonna be so much power, but it's like a limp mode. It's gonna help you get in. If you've gone pretty far, it puts it to the most efficient way to get you into shore without burning too much battery, so it tries to help you there. We even have an extra low battery, so it goes from low battery to extra low. And it all starts around 10% and down. So just kind of keep that in mind, it's there. But I highly recommend, look, if it says 10%, that means you should be going home, or you should be close to home, or you should be ready to go hang out with your family. So, or you're gonna swap out your second battery and go for another incredible ride. So just a good tip to know that, you know, really monitor this so you never get stranded out there. And then I always say, just like any other sport, I would say, go as far as you want to swim back, or go as far as you want to swim back in, whether it's kiting or efoiling or anything. It's all you, you're the pilot. So, you know, if you're flying over the Bahamas and you go down, you're over the Bahamas. So keep that in mind when you're riding these things. So everybody has a way they use their efoil. Now, me personally, I just want to be as safe as I can with my family, with lithium batteries and whatnot. So when I run these things down, right now I have 65%. I run it all the way down to low battery, and it says low battery. And I literally will jump in the water. You can barely foil, you can't foil really, it just is a motoring around. And I motor it around until it hits extra low battery, because I know that my battery has very little energy in it, so it's super safe at home. There's no energy in it. It's completely worn out, so less likely to have any issue. If there was ever to be an issue, it's a really good thing to just, you know, take extra cautions. It's not gonna hurt if you leave your batteries fully charged. It's a lot of energy charge in there, and for sure it's fine, but me personally, I recommend decharging for sure. Run your batteries all the way out, and then you're super safe, and you don't have to worry about it. Or have some fireproof cases. You know, take the extra precautions. I mean, Tesla cars and you name it, everything, you know, is not 100% with lithium right now. So I would just say extra precaution isn't gonna hurt anything, and that's what I do. Everybody asks me, Damien, you know, what do you do to upkeep your units, or how do you keep them nice, and what are the proper things that you do to keep your gear nice? Well, truthfully, I always keep it in the bags. I always rinse it down after every use. I just try to get the salt water off it. Usually 99% of the time, there's never any water in my units. So if you have water going inside your hatch, you should check your seals or check your your hatches where it connects. Maybe put another twist on it, make those hatches a little bit tighter, and you shouldn't have water in. You know, your 4 bolts right here has a gasket. Maybe that gasket, maybe you need to tighten that a little more and water may be seeping in right there. That's it. Other than that, your hatch should be dry. I take fresh water. I take a little lawn sprayer and I take it to the beach, and what I do is I just rinse this whole thing down and I just get all the salt water off it. And then what I do is I put it right here. There's a little teeny hole right here. And actually, there's a hole right in front of this cone. And the water goes in here, up this strut, and it spits out right here. And it's a cooling system, so it just keeps the temperatures down. So you never want this clogged. So I always recommend, I don't care if you live in fresh water or salt water or you name it, always rinse this, always flush this every single time. And it's a little hole right here in the front of the cone of the propulsion, and then it comes out right here. But you can actually put the water right here and it'll bleed right out the front here, or vice versa. But either way, you just flush that, rinse this down. I wipe it down with a towel, and I always set the board, I always set it nose down. And the reason why is, if there was any water inside, the water is going away from the electrical box inside, which is super smart because you don't want water sitting in the electrical box. The next thing I do with my remote is I always leave it standing straight up, because if water ever got inside here, it's not gonna ruin anything. It'll sit at the bottom and you'll be golden. So I always set my remote up. Other than that, they are bomb-proof, they are amazing, and I freaking love it. Thank you all so much for watching. We sure hope this video really helped you on your first Efoil experience. We can't tell you how grateful we are that you are following along Gwen and I for this ride, because look, we're just trying to do everything we can to help you. So make sure to like and subscribe, kick the bell, hit the bell, click on the bell, hit this link, subscribe down here, go over there left, just follow it. We appreciate it. You're helping us do this. We want to create as many videos as we can for you, so we really appreciate you. The more help you can give us, thank you so much, and we'll see you on the water. Don't forget to drop a comment, hit that bell, smash it, hit it up. Yeah! No way! That's such a good ride. Look at these guys! Oh my God!